friendly experience for modding. Did you first get the idea making product? When did I get first? I've been in esports for a very long time, and one thing I noticed is that game developers, especially game designers, have really fragile egos, and they didn't like feedback from pro gamers. And no matter how good our feedback was and how nicely it was presented, there was a big disconnect. It was like you would give the feedback to an esports manager, then the esports manager would give it to the game designer, and the game designer would never look at it. And then I remember people being impressed to talk to me about games and stuff when I was, younger, and then they would be like, oh yeah, you should totally talk to this person, and I'd be like super excited. I'm like, oh my god, this person's going to listen to me, this is great. I'd just say hi first, and I didn't even get really past the hi phase. It was like, hey, and the guy was like, oh, so you're one of those pro gamers, yeah? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, cool, I'm gonna add you to our list then, because we got a list. So that's really good to know. And then basically was like, that's the end of the conversation, hung up. Almost. There was nothing. And the person I met in person was like, we need to work with this person, this would be great. And then I got handed off, and I was like, I'm just on this email list in case they ever want to talk to a pro gamer. And I was like, I fucking hate this industry. And I was like, they don't realize that we're building this thing called esports. They don't even know what it is right now. Our community's been running it, all the great things from ESL, blah, 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 blah. Yet we have no power. We can't get ourselves heard, from anywhere from, and it was just like, And then eventually, I was like, okay, I tried to do some stuff with Quake Live, and I was like, I put my own money in. I ran tournaments at DreamHack on my own money, right? Because I was like, okay, this is my community, before I found, Dota, and I, kind of cheated on the arena FPS scene for a little bit for the sake of having a career. But I love Dota as well. That was like the two games I played, Dota and Quake, a lot at the same time when I was growing up. And then I was trying to put my own money in, and I was just like, okay, we're doing like the best job at bringing people into this game, but no one's helping us from id Software. It's like there's just nothing. It's just us. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. What's going to happen is that agencies will become a thing. Teams will be, still exist. And then I was like, there's going to be a lot of weight behind these like gaming personalities in the future. And if you want to be in this industry, rather than being 4th, 5th, 6th on the, the kind of pecking order, why not just make the fucking game? Because if you're going to make a difference and you're going to help a community, you can't do it by just running tournaments if the game developer's not willing to help you. You have to make the game. So basically I was like, fuck it, we're going to be game developers now. So I told the team, I was like, guys, I'm seriously considering, pulling back on the esports side of things and maybe, working with game development so we can actually serve communities and, better. And over time, the game developers found out that what we knew was esports. Esports was actually, yes, the best marketing tool. So then game developers came in and they were like, oh, you made this? ESL, DreamHack, all these communities, oh, you made this? No, we made this. And then they're like, and you can't touch them because the game developer is God, right? Because they own the IP, they can set the rules, they can do everything. You need that contract to keep your company afloat. I'm sorry, we're going to go with this company over here. And of course, there's a lot of responsibility on the esports side of things for a game developer, and and I think the most important thing is just building communities and getting people to have the, kind of experiences that, I shared, I have, and I want them to share in, which is, traveling young and being able to meet people. Because when you're at school and you're a gamer and you're really into games, gaming's obviously more widespread now, competitively than it was. No one at my school was interested in, me playing Quake and going to France and competing in ESWC. They thought it was funny, but but when I got to France and competed in like ESWC and stuff, I met all these amazing people, and I still know them today and became friends with them. And I think like if you're going to do esports, you kind of want to offer this community experience first and foremost. I think the money side is really important because that gives you drive, and it also gets your family off your back. It's one of actually like the most important things when you're starting off in esports is you win a little bit of money and then you can tell your parents that it's okay, you know, and then you get to follow your passion, which I think everyone should do in their life. So money makes that a little bit easier. And I've seen a lot of people growth from the esports community for a lot of people that have been esport pros. So, you know, I've seen people, you know, very shy, very, you know, nervous and kind of, you know, and then they realize they're around their friends and then, you know, they become more themselves, more confident and, yeah. And so, I don't know. So, yeah, we picked this one, Arena FPS, because we felt it was the weakest. We felt it was a community that was being the worst served. And, you know, and I also had a connection with it, and so I kind of have some slight obligation, I felt, to, if I could do something, but, you know. RTS next? Hey, I'd love to. We can do RTS in this engine, but it would be a whole new tech challenge. Frog would love to do an RTS, because we actually had a conversation about it a while ago. Like, you know, we should focus on what we're good at, right? I can work with communities on game design and esport games, and he loves tech. He just loves, you know, doing stuff. And so RTS is very interesting for him because it's a new challenge. And this, you know, he never made a game before in his life, never made a game engine before, and then he just turned up and started making this. So he's a weirdo. But, yeah. When he says frog, does he mean ice frog? No, I mean fire frog. Yeah, frog's weird. I shouldn't give you too many stories about him, but I'm looking forward to the frog game mode. Yeah, he did it all by himself. Needed a bit more time than he said. Told me it would take about 2 years. That's why I put on my Twitter account hibernating, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to try and, you know, survive potential depression, because I'm quite creative, and one of the worst things is a creative person. And one of the reasons I really feel and like John Romero, and I can understand his position. You know, John Romero, its software is very creative, and you have to be able to create. If you can't create as a creative person, you're going to get depressed. You know, and when John Carmack and him obviously worked on the first Dooms and Quakes, he was able to be creative. And then later on, it was much more tech, and he wasn't able really to work, and so he wasn't happy, and he probably left just because of, you know, being, I think, depressed. So to stop myself from getting into that kind of state where I felt like I couldn't have an outlet for my work, I kind of had to start learning about other stuff. So I started learning about investments and then consulting in investments to keep the company afloat, and as many kind of like, you know, behind the scenes industry jobs as possible, just to make sure we could afford the end of the month. Well done.